Well, you're doing that too. It's kind of fun. These poor people in the lobby around here are also
like,
getting a
what are
little
we
live.
doing?
You know what I'm saying?
I love
know.
it. They're listening in.
It's pretty good.
I love it.
You're listening to the AV-IT Amplifier. Each week, we'll feature voices and ideas that need to be amplified in the higher education and pro-AV IT communities. This show is brought to you by higheredav.com. And now here's your host, Ryan Gray.
Well, hello again, everybody. Thank you for clicking on the button of the feed of the AV-IT Amplifier. We are back for week 2 with Miss Adeline Tatum. Adeline, thank you for coming back to be with us again this week. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me once again.
Would you please remind everybody who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Adeline Tatum. I'm the AV-IT Training Coordinator at UCLA.
All right, and why is it so noisy here where we're recording today?
Oh, it's noisy because we just left, or we just concluded our great Educause 2024 conference, and we're sitting in the lovely lobby of the Hyatt at San Antonio, and the noise is actually a waterfall, right? And we're enjoying it.
What a better place to sit and have a conversation than right here where we are right now.
Relax.
I love it.
I love it too.
And this is why when I like doing these like guerrilla recordings, right? That always comes out a little rougher or whatever, but you get to see people in person versus doing it on the computer.
Yep.
And that's me. I like doing it in person. So thank you for taking time out of your travel schedule to do this with me. I appreciate it.
I am honored. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, in the first episode, we talked a little bit about, this event, how it relates and other things, but you said a word in there that I get in arguments at my school about it every once in a while. And the word is adragogy.
Oh,
And you used adragogy and pedagogy. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure people, if you work in higher ed, you hear the word pedagogy all the time, but you use adragogy. Why?
Mm-hmm. So andragogy is actually the action, A for action, and pedagogy is like the curriculum.
Got it.
So just integrating both of them. So whatever you have in your curriculum, you want to put it in action. Yeah. Right? So basically, it's all about how you bring them together.
That's fun. I get into these arguments with people. It's like the difference when people use the term podium or lectern, right?
Yes.
Like,
oh my goodness, it's the same.
I'm such a stickler. The podium is the raised area you stand on. Podium. The lectern is the. So people get into the pedagogy of this. I'm like, that's not what you're. Never mind. All right, I'm not going to get in an argument, but. This is why you have to have doctors around to keep us straight on this stuff every once in a while. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So you have a very sort of out front job, right? Mm-hmm. Your job is to, teach people. You're all into that. Mm-hmm. So 2 questions. Which first is, do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? Do you think you need to be an extrovert to be good at teaching things to other people?
So I consider myself a little bit of both, but more extrovert. Mm-hmm. I see myself to just be that person, just very friendly and always willing to support or help wherever I can. When I say I'm introvert, is because I do like my space. I do like my personal time at times. Like, I am okay with you wanting to go party. I am okay with staying home and take my rest.
That's right.
So that's the introvert part of me.
Yeah.
I don't think people need to be an extrovert to do my job.
Right.
I think you need to love what you do.
Yeah.
And I love building relationships. I love communicating with people. I love supporting people. Yeah. As long as you love doing that, you could do my job. Right.
There's kind of a meme about how introverted people don't like other people. And it's like, no, that's not wrong. How that works. They just, they drive energy from different types of interactions. In fact, a lot of introverted people really like other people. They're more comfortable in certain places or with certain groups and that sort of thing. And so building relationships is a way that I could do that one all day. But
yes.
No, you've got extrovert written all over you. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
So, I've got a couple of questions that go back in time a little bit, but you mentioned in the beginning that you're from Honduras, or you were born in Honduras, grew up from Belize and now in the United States. So this is such an open-ended question, it's not fair, but what is that experience like what about it do I not understand as someone who was born and raised in the United States?
That's a good one. So, a little history, right? Yes, I was born in Honduras. I moved to Belize at the age of 4. Why we moved to Belize, my dad is so big on education. So Honduras is a small island. Guanaja is the island where we're from. And they only went up to 8th grade. So my sisters, it's 6 of us, my oldest sisters and my brother, it was time for them to go to high school. And my dad moved them. He sent them with his family. And my mom didn't like that. So she moved everybody. She's like, no, I'm not separating my kids. We're going
together.
So we stayed together. I went and I did all my education up to undergrad in Belize. Transition, my dad's sister, she actually petitioned for him. We got our American residence and we moved here 11 years ago. Coming here, and it's still a culture shock to me, to be honest. Learning that because of my ethnicity, I am considered a minority.
Right.
Despite I had a good life in Belize. I had a bachelor's in information technology. I'm independent. I had a car. I had a house. Like, I'm like, why are you people looking at me like I am lesser than? Right. To be honest, still cultural shock, because back home we never looked at the color of your skin. We never looked at your degree. We never, we have other issues because every country have issues, of course, and challenges. But another cultural shock moving here was I live in Los Angeles, California, and just taking that drive and seeing all those homeless people on the street was such a culture shock, still is, because back home, which is Belize, because that's where I grew up from the age of 4, if someone had a mental illness or wasn't able to, have a home, we build a home in the back of your yard and you would have them stay there. Yeah. You don't see any people on the street like I see there. So that's one of the culture shock. Another thing is that there, you make your life the way you make it. In other words, you do farming, you have your neighbor where, hey, do you have some sugar? I could get some today. So you have that sense of community. Right. While here in America, it's like you say hi to your neighbor and they look at you like you're crazy. Right. Like that for me is like kind of like you think, like personally, in my opinion, you think you're better than me. Right. Like, no, we're humans. I'm just saying hi, good morning. Right. So those are some of the things that I see. It has gotten better over the years. I guess I adjust my mindset. Right. And I start to do research and I start to study and ask questions like, why do people behave this way? However, back to your original question, I, from a Central American, a third world country, feel as though Americans just feel privilege. Yeah. When they're speaking to minority people like myself, despite many of us come maybe with a higher degree than you, maybe more experience than you, but that's how I feel. Like many, I won't say all, but majority Americans feel privilege. That's it. Right. There's no way to answer the question or have the conversation without drawing generalities, but that kind of generality of just the assumption that, oh, I see you grew up in a country in Central America, therefore it must mean you don't have, everything I could have had. And you're going, well, I think it was pretty good. And that being said, there's some stuff around here I think you could learn a little bit about. So perfectly said. That's a really interesting perspective on that. But just that sort of, America's at the top and everybody else must be behind us bias. That as when I've traveled the world, I have this, I don't see that, you know what I'm saying, when I go to other places. So good. That's very interesting on that. Okay. So a year ago at this conference, we, I don't know how to put it, but the show was pretty new back then, and I was picking up guests. And probably, I'd have to look, I think she was probably the just 5th or 6th guest of the show was Hannah Kindree. And quickly, the story was, so first, you introduced me to Hannah Kindree. How did you know her at the time? So Hannah is amazing. I mentored Hannah for her first Educause conference in Chicago last year. And actually we went to a CDW event and you were there and I introduced you to Hannah and you guys just started talking about accessibility and she was in her zone.
Yes.
Amazing.
That was the thing about it, because it was like, this person has thought deeply about this subject. They are passionate about it, and yada yada. I'm going, but if you're looking for voices that you want to bring out, like this is a voice of somebody who, is talking about something that I hear talked about all the time in a way that is different than anything else.
Yes.
So, 2 questions on that. So, one, when you mentioned being a mentor for that person, when you are in a role of being a mentor, how do you approach mentorship?
So for me, in my role as a mentor, I definitely have a framework, like a questionnaire that I'll ask my mentee questions of what are you looking for? What are your goals? Like where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What interests you to choose me to be your mentor?
Right.
Like can you share with me a little bit about your background? What do you want for me to do, or what can I do to support you?
Right.
Like those are some of the questions on that questionnaire. And then also I definitely invite my mentee to do networking events with me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's where we could definitely connect them with people in their field, if it's not my field or the field that I'm in. But you were asking me to mentor you because you saw some quality in me that you probably liked or feel like I take them to the networking event, like how she met you.
Yep.
And I also recommend her to other people that have mentored myself, or just reach out to people. Hey, do you know someone? She's in this field. What do you think? So, because I don't always have the answers, but I try.
And I like that perspective of like, in a mentor-mentee, you start with questions. What is it you want to get out of this? What is it? Yeah, and it's in their court a little bit what that looks like. And then you ended with, and I don't have all the answers, right? To mentor somebody, you don't have to have all the answers.
I've learned that.
Because none of us do. But yeah, getting them connected with the right people, that's awesome.
Correct. We're all on a learning journey. And I say that to them. I'm like, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Not because you see all of this on my resume or hear all of this about me. I can learn some things from you too. Just know that.
Yes.
And I think, like you said, we just got to share that space. I know you were looking to me. You think I have all, but I don't. We're going to learn together.
Yeah, for sure. And what has that been like? Have you kept up with her? Is this someone that you still talk to?
Yes, we still talk. Actually, she is waiting for her final exam for her master's.
Wow.
And I think we should call her and hear where she's at.
Well, that was my question. She's not here, so what are we,
So she couldn't be here this year.
Yeah.
Last year, Educause actually sponsored her, right?
That's right?
It was her first time. But besides that, I was going to try and get sponsorship because she's adorable. And these are things that, like I said, networking. She couldn't make it because of studying for her final exam.
Cool.
But how about we surprise her?
I was going to say, do you really want to call her?
Let's call her.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
I mean, I haven't talked to her in a year, so that's not cool.
She want to take over the show right now. Let's see, Hannah. She's going to take it over. She's going to be so happy to hear from you.
Also,
I'm put on speaker. I'll let you say hi. She's probably in her exam.
That may be.
Let's see. Let me text.
Hey everybody, it's Hannah here. I just wanted to say that Adeline is such a wonderful human. I am so grateful that I met her. We're about a year out from the Educause that I attended, where Adeline was my mentor, and I am so grateful for all of the connections that she's introduced me to, like Ryan. So I think she's so wonderful, and it's been so fun seeing what she's up to on LinkedIn, and I'm forever grateful for the opportunities that not only going to Educause, but also meeting Adeline presented me.
Okay, so another question for you.
Okay.
And here's one of my more serious ones, which is do you think people are generally good with a proclivity for evil, or generally evil with a proclivity for good?
I think the second one.
Why?
Because I feel like you could always, through fostering awareness, move people from bad intention to good intention.
Okay.
That's how I like to look at things. I never want to say that your intentions are bad, but
Right.
when you see it from the outside in, looking, because you're doing it, but I am seeing it, I can see that it's bad,
Right.
but your intention probably wasn't bad.
Right.
So if I see that as a bad intention, it's my duty to nicely, empathetically come to you and say, hey, and ask a few questions around whatever that topic is, and have you explain to me, like, what was your thoughts at the time, how you came up with that, whatever, project, whatever, and listen to hear, because I am judging that it was
Right.
bad. And as a educator, or as humans in general, we need to stop judging people.
Right.
So based on that, the knowledge that you share, now I can look at it and say, I didn't know that.
Right.
My intentions were the wrong intention. And who knows, I could share my intention. This is how I saw it, and it seemed bad to me or evil to me. But you fostering that awareness to me now, I will foster some to you. How if you had done it this way?
Right. Okay.
It might have came off differently.
Right. So there's almost like it's like a blend of like morality in the eye of the observer, but then a double accountability on that, which is
I like that, how you worded
the
that.
assumptions are, the assumptions
Assumption.
of people or their own biases lead to judgments that may
Judgments.
not be correct. That's very
Correct.
interesting.
Correct.
So how do you apply then? That's a pretty, like, when I ask that question, most people have a very concrete way of looking at it. People are X trying to be Y, or they're Y trying to be X, or something like that. And that was a very nuanced way of doing it. How do you, as you then decision make and move through the world and build, relationships, apply that philosophy?
So for me, like the example just now, like if my intention see it as wrong or bad, I first definitely would reflect back on it.
Yeah.
And just write down my biases behind why do I think it's bad? Why do I assume it's bad? Why do I want to judge this person for whatever they did or whatever they're doing? So reflecting on myself first, making
Yes.
sure my mindset is clear, then getting research to back up if I feel that way. Because you have to have the research to say why something is, not
Right.
just jumping to conclusion.
Right.
And then I move through, and then like I said, I'll do the question with the person, and then I'll write my back, I'll show you. This is what I came up with. This is what the research said.
Yeah.
What am I missing?
Right.
For me to still have it in my mind that it was bad.
Right.
So that's how
Interesting.
I would go through it.
There's one of the Covey 7 Habits of Highly Effective Right is seek to understand before being understood. And that was almost exactly that, right? Which
Yeah.
is seek to understand everything first before trying to make myself understood in it. And that's a really
Correct.
interesting way of looking at that. I
didn't know
appreciate
he
it.
had that in. I know that book. I haven't read it. I have it to read it on my shelf. But that's empowering now. I'll go read it.
You should.
But
It's
that's
a good
just
one.
from my own personal experience. Because
exactly.
I have in the past found out that as a human being, like we shared earlier, we assume.
Yeah.
We judge people
Yep.
wrongfully.
Right.
But feel like, oh, we're right.
Yeah.
Like we're so right. So.
Our brains are very much wired for pattern recognition and some of these things, and they jump to conclusions in ways that, in today's nuanced way of doing things, don't, it
doesn't
served us really
align.
well when we were developing on the plains of the Serengeti, developing the human brain, right?
I like that,
and
yes.
now in today's
It's
world,
so different.
Yeah,
So
they don't
much.
serve us the same way.
And then there's so much like advanced technology, and then there's so much other distractions, right? It's so different. Like
Yeah.
the world right now is just so different.
Yeah.
So that I think adds to the way how people interpret, the way how people see things is so different. So
That's true.
so always doing that self-reflection is a good start.
That's a great piece of advice right there. That's a fantastic takeaway. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the best sandwich?
Oh my goodness. For me,
Yeah.
a turkey sandwich with lettuce and tomato.
Okay.
And if I could get grilled onion, I'll get grilled onion.
Okay.
If not, then I just leave it as is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
For me, and then I like the bread.
yeah.
I like sourdough.
Sourdough. That's a
Yes.
good choice. So that's a pretty, turkey sandwich, down the middle sort of choice there.
Yeah, basic, simple girl.
That's all you need on that
That's
front,
all I
huh?
need.
Okay, so when you think of that, is that something that you've made for yourself, something else, you've gotten it at a place, you know what I'm saying?
It's something that I make myself. Like
Yeah.
I would make it, but if I go to different places and I want it, I'll ask. And if they're not able to do it, then I'll substitute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just substitute with something. It's not like I must have it.
Right.
But I like it. That's one of my favorite sandwiches.
Okay. Okay. I love that answer. Okay, so then let's do, because I have someone who, grew up in Belize.
Mm-hmm.
What's a food from Belize that we need to know about here and that we don't know about and we should be paying attention to?
Well, we have I guess, I don't know. Let me ask you. I know
Yeah.
you shouldn't ask a question without a question, but
No,
I
you're
want to
fine.
make sure that I'm sharing something that,
Okay.
Have you heard about our dish, our Sunday dish? Rice and beans, chicken, potato salad,
No.
fried ripe plantain.
Okay. No.
So
go ahead.
that's our Sunday dish. So
Okay.
that's one of the dish that people need to know about.
Okay.
So it's rice and beans. It's stewed chicken. You
Right.
stew it, brown stew it, potato salad, and fry ripe plantains.
Plantains.
And
yeah.
then you always have a little onion sauce on the side.
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Why?
That's a dish.
It's just a traditional thing.
Just a traditional thing. And we try sometimes to do like different things, but everybody comes back to that wasn't our Sunday dinner.
Yeah.
So it's such a engraved in us
Yeah.
that every household just does that.
So it's almost like it doesn't it's not what the food is as much as it ties you to
The moral
tradition.
and the value
Yeah.
of the tradition.
And food
Correct.
food is such a thing. Like food and music tie people's culture together so much that you know what I'm saying.
So true.
I love that
Yep,
answer.
yep.
That's cool. Okay. And do you in LA can you get plantains that are good? Like it's like where I am.
Yeah.
I'm so I could never get a good plantain, but you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm gonna bring you some.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's one of
I'll
the cool
bring
things
you
about
some from
big
yeah.
yeah,
I'll
big
bring-
multicultural cities
Yes.
like that. You're going to have access to so many other things.
So, LA is very diverse.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Hispanic communities.
Yeah.
So you could go to the regular supermarket. You
Yeah,
could go to
and do
Ralph,
that.
Food for Less in LA, Albertson, the Pavilion, Vons, and you get it. It's
Yeah.
there. So that's a good thing. So I guess just having like a very diverse community there and population, it helps.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
Okay. What is something you've recently changed your mind about?
Ooh. Oh my gosh. Oh, something I recently changed my mind about.
Also, if
So-
anybody's watching, I'll show you. No, the fun part is the sun is now coming through that window over there. So I'm just going to
Right.
do this for a while.
You want to turn a little bit, maybe?
It's all right. We're
Yeah.
good.
Okay. So one of the things that I've changed my mind about, I'll be honest. So moving to America was always a dream of mine to have a nice home.
Uh-huh.
Have a nice home, but everybody know in California,
Yeah.
you can have a nice home, but you don't have any yard.
Right.
And I am used to having yard
Space. Yeah.
space. So one of the things is that I am considering whenever I have the opportunity to work remotely, fully remotely.
Right.
I do want a home in America still because
Yeah.
I have one in Belize. I want to move to maybe Dallas.
Really?
I like Dallas. I have never been to Arizona. I might like Arizona as well. I like the idea of feeling the country environment. So, I'm from the tropics, very country, a lot of greenery, a lot of nature.
Yeah.
And I get that feel here.
Cool.
I get that feel here. I visited my niece last week in Longview, Texas. Amazing, quiet, settled, not the California urgency,
Yeah,
traffic,
different.
traffic, for 45 minutes, you sit in traffic for 2 hours, which should be a 45-minute drive.
Right.
So just, I guess as we get older, I'm not that old, but
Yeah.
as we get older, just peace, right?
Priorities
Peace of
change.
mind. So that's one of the things. Recently, last week, when I went there, that was one of, I'm like, this is what I want to do.
That's a good one. And it's one of those, like, changing your mind doesn't have to be something that's a 180. It's just a
Progressively.
evolving of things that are priorities in life.
Correct.
And that sort of
That's
thing.
so
That's
true.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if you had some land, you think a garden, would you grow something?
Of course. I love
Yeah.
roses.
Oh, there you
So
go.
I love flowers,
Uh-huh.
but I also love vegetables. So I would grow like bell pepper, tomatoes, maybe not lettuce because you need a lot of space. Unless
Yeah.
I have a lot of space, because you know it spreads
Yeah.
out. And then I'm thinking maybe some fruit trees.
That would be
you
awesome.
know. So
Well,
yeah.
I think you could get that done in Dallas. That'd be cool. All right.
Yeah, because
Okay.
when you purchase a house, you get acres of land. I'm like, and the price.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, even the price. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Compared to LA, yeah. Anywhere is gonna be
Anywhere
like
is
that.
better. That's a true statement.
Yeah.
You know, but of course, there's the challenges, right, and the barriers. You get cold, it gets super hot in the summer, while in LA, the weather just always so nice.
Nice.
But I would leave that nice weather, because
Right.
I have that in Belize when I want to go
Fair
there
point.
to have peace of mind. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Same last three questions for everybody.
Okay.
All right. Third to last question. What is a question that you wish people would ask you, but nobody ever does?
That's a good one.
I only ask good questions. I don't know.
You
I'm just-
do. Maybe why do I choose to be an educator?
Interesting.
No one have ever asked me that. Like, no one have ever like asked me like,
Okay.
why did you choose to be an educator?
Well, then, so one, why did you choose to be an educator? But two, and this is a little thing on, because I think a lot of people assume that people who are in education were like born to it. It's a calling, not a choice. So would you say you chose it, or would you say it chose you?
I would say I chose it.
Okay.
Because when I first started, after I got an associate at the University of Belize, I was hired into a role, and I was the first female computer lab supervisor.
Okay.
So I managed all the computer labs within the university. It was like 15 of them. And I was in that field for 5 years. And I used to go in those computer rooms, computer labs, and I would watch how I used to call them work scholars at that time, would
Yeah.
have to support our customers. And many of them had all these questions, like they couldn't interpret how their professor, their faculty explained certain thing, and they're asking my student workers, hey, can you help me this? Can you research this?
Yeah.
That type of stuff. And when I saw that, I was like, I need to do that.
Yeah.
And I went and I applied to, well, they actually called me, because by this time I had my bachelor's
Right.
in IT, and my alma mater, my high school, was looking for an IT teacher. I'm like, okay, can I do it like a sabbatical in case I don't like it? And they were fine with it, because it was a government-based, a public institution. And I went, I stayed there for 6 months.
Yeah.
I loved it, and I ended up staying.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it was more like you got put in a situation to see either a need, an opportunity, a way to make something different or change. It's like, okay,
Yes.
I see it and I'm going to head that direction.
And that's exactly what happened.
That's
Yep.
awesome. I love that story.
Yep.
And here it is years later,
Like, I'm still loving it
and
even more.
almost a doctor in it.
And almost a doctor.
All right. Nice.
Yes,
Cool.
almost.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. That was
Of
cool.
course.
Second to last question. If people wanted to get connected to you or find you or communicate with you, how would they do it?
They could connect with me on LinkedIn, Adeline Tatum, or you could always shoot me an email at it.ucla.edu.
Gets it perfect every time, the first time, right? Perfect.
Thank you, thank you.
Cool. All right, well, last question. So at the end of a show or a broadcast or a live performer may have their sign-off phrase, their drop the mic thing they say when they're out and they're done. So what is almost Dr. Adeline Tatum's drop the mic sign-off phrase?
My sign, I never thought about it, but let me see. Take the risk and not let your fear overcome you.
Thank you for listening to the AV-IT Amplifier. Join us again for next week's episode when we'll welcome a new guest who you'll want to hear from. We promise. Your host has been Ryan Gray. He's on the tweeters at Ryan_A_Gray, or find him on LinkedIn to connect. Please subscribe and give the show a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. This show is brought to you by higheredav.com. The views expressed here are not necessarily those of our respective institutions, employers, or sponsors. Everyone hang in there, go easy, and we'll be back next week.